Thank you for taking the time. How's your day going so far?
All good, man. I've just been sitting here chatting away about art. It's all nice.
Yeah, well, it's great to be connected with you, not just because I appreciate your work, but you're mentioned, and I'm going to say about 20% of the press releases I get because uh, the bio, I think it's at the bottom of the IFC films. It's one of those, and we've worked with such filmmakers as Larry, in other words, you're at that class of
Yeah.
industry where they name check you to get other people in the door.
Yeah, I appreciate that you notice that. And I get Google alerts and I'm like, oh, how exciting. I'm in the news. And it's always just because I'm in someone else's press release. So I know what you're speaking about.
But also beyond that, I was pitched you for Dash Cam, Jacob's Wife, No Man of God, Dementor. Whether or not you made any of these movies in 2021, you had a lot come out in 2021.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of these are COVID movies, which is not Dementor. Those are a little older, but some Dash Cam, and I've made quite a few movies during COVID, which had different levels of, paranoia and infrastructure. Some of them were so small that we actually sort of snuck under the radar and did like Dash Cam. We were masked, but it was no protocol. And then other movies where you're doing tests. I just finished a movie in Chicago. We did testing every 2 days and this and that. So yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to work during this terrible time. And one of those experiences was getting a call from these guys and asking if I would just record the voice in my closet upstate. So I had a great time.
Okay, that was actually going to be my next question. Was it an audition or you knew somebody to get into the Spine of Night?
I didn't know anyone, but they knew who I was enough to, they just called and said, did I want to do it? And immediately, I loved everything about the project. I liked that it was an indie spirit, still clearly ambitious, a feature-length rotoscope animation. And I could just tell something special. And I'm an old timer, so I grew up with Ralph Bakshi, and that was always very thrilling. I'm not a complete, fantasy geek, but I'm more into horror. But I like anything that's imaginative and bananas. And playing the Prophet of Doom, who refuses that role?
You always want to play death or anyone who's predicting the worst that can happen because no one has any expectations of you. So if you're amazing, it's just knocking it out of the park without trying.
Yeah, also, you're bound to be right. If you're proclaiming the end of the world, you're probably going to end up being right, unfortunately. I've actually used that trope all my life, and I'm afraid I'm accurately predicting the future.
Well, in your case, you mentioned before you recorded it in your vocal booth at home, so entirely isolated from everybody else for this production?
Yeah, it was literally in a closet trying to shut out the loud sound of crickets and lawnmowers. It's upstate, but there you are. You're in this little fantasy world. You're in the headphones, and they had sent me a mic. I mean, it was very nicely produced little activity. I was in there only for a couple hours, working, through Zoom, I guess, and they got a recording they thought was suitable. I even did, I think, a test for the sound department and, whatever. But it was very hand hewn and just right for the pandemic. It was right when we were all locked in.
Wow. I remember being shocked when I learned that that I think it was Cameron Diaz, tracked the whole movie in 18 hours. She just came in, did one long session, and that was that. And now that's kind of the precursor to Zoom, where you knocked it out in a couple of hours. Yeah. This kind of style of working, is it something that you like? Now, obviously, you want to be on the set actually reacting to people, which is acting, but it's a pleasurable experience to try this new form of technology for you?
Sure. And I mean, I could get into it a little deeper because I also was producing my son's film, and we did ADR through Zoom. That's a little more intricate. It has to be said that what I did for Spine of Night, I play literally the lunatic in the town square in one scene. So it's not so much about my interaction with the other actors. I think if you get into more nuanced demands for your character and your sequences, then you would feel a little more isolated. But for what I was doing, it was perfect. I mean, my guy's in his own world anyway. I think he's not really taking in so much as reacting and pontificating. So it was the right role for this sort of strange, isolated way of working.
Credit also goes to you. I think you've always been ahead of the curve in terms of what you've done, where you had something resembling a podcast before most people knew what a podcast was.
Yeah.
You were writing for video games before before there was like a Godfather or a Ghostbusters sequel in video game form. How is it that you're so ahead of the curve when it comes to technology and not just, hey, it's not TV, it's not filmed, I'm not doing it?
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I'm hardly a futurist. I'm actually a traditionalist on the one hand, but what I do like is the opportunity of each new medium to sort of suggest ways in which you can tell stories. So if you're just interested in the storytelling, but you realize there are these alternative formats that can suggest a new thing. I always say that a video game is a different mindset than a movie, because a movie, you're a passive watcher, and in a way that it forces you to have empathy, because you can't control what the character does. So you have to actually figure out and understand it. You may still say, don't go in the basement, but you're going, all right, well, you're going in the basement and I'm with you. And oh my God. Whereas a video game is oddly, more about how can I solve this problem? Should I go down that corridor or that corridor? The viewer is more making choices. So it's a little bit more self-involved, like once again, back to what are my choices in the world? So there again, you see, so maybe you want to play with that once you know that's the format. Same with audio. We've done audio dramas. We call them radio plays, but they're really just for, podcasts now. And there's just a whole world of possibilities because you have only sound to work with. And what does that suggest to your storytelling? So I think that's why I appear to be anticipating things. It's just, I fall into stuff and I get excited about the format, and maybe that inspires someone who's working in a different format. I don't know.
That answer went in a different direction than what I was expecting, because
Really?
what I was expecting was my agent is really forward thinking and knows about things before they're going to happen, and they put me up for stuff.
That's very sweet, but I'll tell you a secret. I don't have an agent.
Really?
Yeah. I don't have an agent or a manager. I just answer the call when it comes in and see if things might work out. So I'm a free agent.
That is so surprising to me, because you're not just an actor. There's the writer element, the producer element, the director element. So for you to be able to juggle all those different parts of your mind and stay focused and the stuff to actually come out and get done, what's your secret to all that? Are you a big calendar or to-do list kind of guy?
No, this is my calendar. It's got a bunch of X's on it. I have a terrible memory, but I do sort of know, 2:00 on Thursday. It just sort of sticks in my mind. I do think, we're laughing, but I think brains work in different ways. And I definitely compartmentalize. I also want to get things finished. So I'm quite driven, and I think I'm a useful comrade to other people, because I'm like, we've got to finish it. Some people would say I'm impatient. Some would say I don't care enough. I appear to just want to get things done. But that also is a motivating thing, and paired with the right other personality, that can be helpful to get stuff done. And I don't know. I just have a fatalist view. We don't have a lot of time, and I like doing quality things that are really about not my profile, but working together and making a difference in a specific relationship. So I don't know, it's just whatever. I wouldn't recommend it. Imagine if I did have some support, maybe I'd really get something done.
Oh, no, I mean, your filmography is very, very impressive, and it goes on decades. So whatever you're doing, keep at it. And if other people can't follow, it's their loss and their fault. But you mentioned your son, you worked on a film for your son. So he's not listening to the warnings and he's sticking with the business.
Yeah. The good thing is I think he's equipped in a different way than me. I'd like to imagine he shares certain sensibilities or worldview, but I'm so impressed with his priorities and his way of working. He grew up with both his parents are artists. My wife's very driven and
yes,
her own things to offer in terms of raising a kid and giving him a work ethic. So I think he has that, and then he has the advantage of caring about technology. He loves cameras and guns and other weird things I don't care about. So those are in his movies, and so he'll bring something very special to whatever he does with the idea of being a filmmaker. Of course, I didn't recommend it, but neither did I discourage it, because I think done right, if he could just get into, find a community, hopefully he'll be able to support himself and do good work. He also likes different disciplines. He's a great musician. He could do camera. Maybe he'll be a director. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm not wishing for anything, just his happiness of some sort.
Well, two quick questions and then you're free. And the first one is, we were connected to speak about The Spine of Night, but are you allowed to say what's next? Or is it The Spine of Night all the time, forever?
That's all it is for me, is The Spine of Night and The Prophet of Doom, which I've also always been quite good at predicting doom. And I'm obsessed with the political world and more generally the philosophy of how people should get along together in a society. And I find that very distracting. So what's next is just material that deals with that fundamental problem of how our society works, and also embraces spooky storytelling and fantasy and whatever, in what other way I can do it. I'm hoping to make a film in the spring. I've acted in some things. We'll see. I'll let it, when it comes out, Annie Jeeves will tell you, and he'll take it from there.
The IFC Films press release at the bottom, that will also tell us. My last question.
They're keeping me relevant. Thank God for IFC.
And the last thing I'm curious about, my wife is a diehard Jaws fan, and your IMDb page says Jaws, parentheses, short film.
Yeah.
What is that? Did you work on a featurette that went on to the documentaries, the DVDs or something? Okay.
That's just a little trinket I have. Well, give my regards to your wife. I should have done the interview with her.
You're not the first to say that.
When I was 12, I saw Jaws. I was so obsessed with it that I built the orca in my basement. It was 6 feet long with all the details, everything down to the beer cans and paint cans and all the spears. And my figurines were like the little G.I. Joe sized dolls from those days. This one's a Frankenstein. But yeah. So I shaved their faces. And then I brought the boat down and shot in Super 8. And I wrote the script. The bottom line is I never really was able to get the whole thing together. Speaking of unfinished projects, I don't have many, but that's one of them. Anyway, there's stuff online of my boat, and there's and the little movie and tiny. And speaking of animation, that's why I was so fond of The Spine of Night, the impulse that brought it to life, because I also love animation. This was stop motion. And there's the boat floating around. My friend never showed up to run the shark, so that's a bit of a disappointment. There's no shark in my movie. I think my friend put it on IMDb. It's not a joke, but it's not really a real movie either.
Well, you said it's unfinished now, but you never say never, because you finish stuff. So hopefully that happens one day. Hopefully it's a little better than Jaws 3. Hopefully. Yeah. But,
although it is very personal, so.
but
was that 4? I can't. My joke may not land. Was that 4? This time it's personal.
I think that is 4. Yes.
Oh my God! What a dreadful mess that series is. But the real film endures.
Exactly. But I can't thank you enough for your time, and I really look forward to whatever is next. Whether you are the writer, star, supporting actor, producer, whatever it is, keep it up, Larry.
Thank you, Darren. Hey, listen, tell your wife, does she know about the play in England?
I don't think she does, and I'm
going to look it up. The shark is broken. Look it up. It's Robert Shaw's son playing Robert Shaw, and there's a fun little trailer of it, and it's the making of Jaws. It's a play in the West End. So,
she's going to England next year, so if it's still up, that is being seen. Thank you so much again, Larry.
Paltrocast.